right, good evening. Welcome to the Board of Education Finance Committee meeting for Monday, April 27th, 2026. Second item on our agenda is public comment. Not seeing anyone here today. We'll move on to item number 3, approval of the minutes from March 16th, 2026. Bonnie, did you have any corrections? Does anyone have any at this time? Right, hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented in the packet?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Right. Motion passes. Item number 4, discussion and consideration. We have the 2026-2027 O&M Capital Improvement Plan. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys for having me today. Again, my name is Brian Peterson. I am the Director of Operations. And today, sharing the agenda, I'm going to give you guys an update on the 25-26 fiscal year for capital projects, as well as 26-27 capital projects. So this is work that we had slated at Geneva High School. The green checks signify that this work was completed in the 25-26 fiscal year. So we have the air handler replacement and chiller conversion at the high school, gymnasium fan installation, library renovation. We modernized 2 elevators, and we replaced the maintenance garage makeup air unit. So we had a busy summer at the high school, as you can see. And again, all projects were completed on time and under budget.
What entails modernizing elevators?
So,
New buttons?
no. So instead of a full replacement, which would be like the jack and the cab and pretty much the entire pit, it basically uses the existing cab and pit and rails, which are, it's steel, doesn't like degrade, it's inside, and it basically modernizes all the electronics, oil pump, oil pit, tank, and just all those other components that are behind the scenes.
Got it. Okay.
But part of that was we had Dover DMC elevators, which were obsolete back in like 2019. So that's been a big push to just obviously because the parts are no longer available, and when we did have a breakdown, it tended to last quite a long time. And at Geneva Middle School North, we did have the track replacement. That was completed through the cooperative. And that was completed in just under, I think, 2.5 months. So it did take quite a bit of summer because we had to let the asphalt cure, basically the base, before we could coat over it. So that did add 30 days to that project. But it was completed over the summer. At Geneva Middle School South, we had roof section P replacement, as well as the associated masonry work in that area. And I included the interior painting. It wasn't technically a capital project, but I did want to give a shout out to our head painter, as well as our summer helpers, who did a fantastic job over at Middle School South. So they did make their way through the entire common areas, hallways, team centers, as well as into the cafeteria. It really brightened up the school.
It is one of those things you don't think about it beforehand, and then
Oh, yeah.
you're in afterwards, and you're like, "Wow, this looks really great."
No, it makes
really
a huge
does.
difference,
Yeah.
honestly. You don't even think about it. And then again, at Harrison Street Elementary School, we had more mechanical work, and this is, kind of a theme for us moving forward. We know we've got some deferred maintenance and a little bit of playing some catch up on some of our mechanical items. So we had chiller replacement and the associated pumps, fire alarm system replacement, and then at Heartland Elementary School, we also had, again, chiller replacement and associated pumps. And at Mill Creek Elementary School, you'll notice the VAV actuator valve replacement. That does not have a green check, so that That was one that was not completed over the 25-26 summer. And that was strictly due to timeline. There's work in every classroom. We got down to about the final 3 weeks of summer. And as you can imagine, the custodians, maintenance, everybody went through there. Everything was clean. We estimated this was about 4 weeks worth of work in every space in Mill Creek. So we decided to just delay it to save everybody, you know, the pain of going back through the entire school and cleaning that. But that is slated for 26-27. At Mill Creek as well, we had the elevator modernization. That again was another one of those Dover DMC elevators, obsolete parts. So we decided to go ahead and get this elevator taken care of and modernized. And at Fabian Elementary School, we had the LED upgrade project. What's shown there is the library. You guys should swing out there. It honestly looks great. So the entire school is upgraded to LED. And I believe this is the last but not least. We had Kesslinger Bus Garage. This was the parking lot expansion, as well as addition of another propane tank there for the buses. And now here we are getting into 26-27 fiscal year. So we are starting with Geneva High School. First on the list is our greenhouse glazing system replacement. So you guys have probably seen the greenhouse on the second floor of the south side of the high school. We had quite a few panes that were failing and water intrusion and things like that. The dampers weren't quite operating as they should, so we decided to move forward with the replacement of that. We also have paving and site work at the east parking lot and in front of door 1 at the student drop-off. We have at the boiler house a fire separation wall. So the boiler house is where our grounds crew works out of, and essentially this was a code violation. We were using a room for storage that essentially didn't have fire rated walls, that was storing like their leaf blowers, generators, things like that in it. So this is to bring that up to code. We have our tennis court replacement, server room split system replacement, and then as well as we will have around the cafeteria some masonry and roofing work to address an ongoing leak that we've had going on there.
Hey, Brian, real quick,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. Just before we get, sorry, Robin. Before we get too far down, just as a reminder for everyone who may be watching at home later or whatever, as we're talking about all the upcoming projects for 26-27, these have all been approved already as part of our budgeting process. And
Correct.
you and your team have gotten bids out and are working, and you're preparing us, just making sure finance committee here and everybody knows what we're getting rolling with right as we get ready for the school year to end.
Yep, this 26-27 is going to be the work starting, majority of the work will be starting June 1.
Great, thanks.
So, of this year. But what we have here is a overview of the high school. And as you can see, this is just kind of outline showing you, we do have quite a bit of work coming up at this location. You can see to the furthest right, we have the staff parking lot. You can see that little sliver carved out between the high school and the lot. That is the student drop-off in front of door 1. We have the boiler house down there at the bottom. And really the only thing going on inside of the high school is the minor mechanical work for the split system, as well as some greenhouse glazing replacement. And then over at the athletic complex, you can see the tennis courts highlighted. So that'll be the full depth removal and replacement of the 8 tennis courts. And right here, we've got the picture of the actual boiler house. So that kind of shows you, so that is the grounds office. And on the back side of that was the storage. and you can see that wall doesn't quite go all the way up. There's actually like some laminate wood there or something, so that needs to be replaced and like with the CMU wall for fire rating. And then down there at the bottom, those are parking lot photos of the concrete and asphalt of the current conditions. And above there, that was actually a repair that we had for the failed drainage in the parking lot. So we've had some issues with the East Staff lot, and it'd be nice to get those addressed. But there'll be a lot of moving pieces, obviously, as you can see at the high school. And these are just some additional photos for you to give you context. Starting in the left corner, we've got some more photos of the greenhouse from the inside and out. And then down at the bottom left, you can see those are like the tennis courts. That's the entrance. We've got the failing asphalt. And then the middle photo there at the bottom is the tennis court surfacing. I know it's probably difficult to see, but you can see that surface is actually deteriorating down to like the original surface, because that was a kind of a coating. And then the last one there is some of the photos from the roof of the dampers. And now on to the middle schools. We have Geneva Middle School North. We've got some mechanical work coming up there. We've got 2 boilers to replace, the associated hot water pumps, as well as the 4 chilled water pumps for the building. So this is pretty much confined to the central plant location of the Middle School North. And then we have our HLS. So we did complete our HLS inspections this past year, and we are getting those A items addressed in that 1-year timeline. So that'll address all A items at North. Now at Geneva Middle School South, we've got generator replacement and transfer switch. We've got fire alarm upgrades, another elevator modernization that we started last year, similar project. We've got our HLS category A items, as well as a window blind replacement. I wanted to share this print with you guys. The outlined in red, the one to the left, is what the new boiler plant would look like. And just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with, to the right is the original system. You can see we've got 2 boilers in there. So as you can imagine, the new system with 5 smaller, higher efficiency boilers are going to give us a lot more control, better efficiency, all around to control like the temperature in the building. And again, starting at the top left, that's the existing plant, boiler plant at North. The 2 pretty large boilers, the hot water pumps in the middle, and then to the right, those are the chilled water. You can see 2 of them, and then there's 2 up high. Down at the bottom row, those are photos at South. That first one on the left is a photo of the inside of the elevator. And this elevator will actually be getting the cab redone, because you can't, probably hard to see, but in the back lower section of the panel, there's that piece of like rubber over it. So that whole bottom panel is like cracked and split. And then this is a photo of a fire alarm device. And then the last one is the generator that is end of life. It's about 31 years old. We have Fabian Elementary School. These are the hot water mechanical piping repairs we have. And this is galvanic corrosion. We've had some issues there. So some of the ball valves are locking up and failing, as well as the dielectric unions, for whatever reason, did not serve their purpose, and got quite a bit of leaks and failures there, and we wanted to get that addressed before we have a major failure, because that is obviously controlling the heat for our entire building. At Mill Creek Elementary School, we have masonry cleaning and tuck pointing. Replace the VAV valves. That was a 25-26 carryover. Also that LED lighting upgrade. And then Harrison Street Elementary domestic water heater replacement. There's 2 there. And then Kesslinger Bus Garage. We're going to replace the mechanic oil pit replacement, which I'll show you photos of all of these right now. Starting with the top left, those are the actuator valves. We've just had an issue with, they've served their purpose. They're on 20 years old. For whatever reason, there's a plastic cap in there that's deteriorated, and we've seen a substantial amount of leaks. Issue being all these VAV boxes are located in classrooms. So it's just tough during the day when they spring up to get in there. We tend to have to shut it down, and then we lose a little bit of control over that system. On the top, the next 2, those are the piping repairs that we're going to be making at Fabian Elementary School. You can see some of that rusting away, little drips here or there. And then the last photo up top is the water heater at Harrison Elementary, and that has begun to show signs of failure as well. And then the bottom row is the mechanic pit at Kesslinger Bus Garage. So this has been a little bit of an issue. As you can see in the middle photo there, this is what they drive the buses over, so they can work underneath it. You got the stairwell to the left that they can go down, and they don't have to be all hunched over. They can actually stand up underneath there and do their job. So what we've had is a lot of the guardrails the bolts have ripped out of the concrete and things like that. It's just very rusted and deteriorating, and obviously we want that to be in the best shape possible when somebody's working underneath those buses. And this is some of the tuck pointing and masonry work at Mill Creek Elementary. You can see a lot of the caulking joints where the limestone caps meet. Also, for context, we did start pressure washing it. You can see how dirty some of that stone was. So there's like a little before and after. You can see the cleaned area of the limestone versus the non-cleaned, quite a bit of difference. And then if you go to the 4th photo up top, you can see all the open joints in the limestone. And then the last one there, I know it's tough to see in here, but the entire mortar joint underneath there is missing, as well as in that one. The limestone cap, you can actually almost stick your hand underneath there. So there's some building envelope issues that we're getting addressed there. And should be noted, obviously, if there were at any of the other schools, we don't have any work for 26-27, so it was just those listed. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions? I have a couple this time. I don't know if it's too early since we made the improvements at the high school, but have you seen any numbers yet that things have improved, whether from an efficiency standpoint, or will you need to wait at least a year before?
Are you saying as far as the air handlers and chiller?
Yeah, that big replacement, what you did.
So we kind of brought it online. It would be tough to say because when we brought it online, it was like mid to end August, and then we went into September. So I'd like to get through a full summer to really be able to get those numbers back and feel good about that.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious, so I got to see it. And then another question, this is kind of more of a high level. When we make the determination on what needs to be done first in my industry, which is roadway and bridge construction, it's not always the worst first. It is what project if we did some preventative maintenance now, might last longer and cost less in the long run than if we just only did worst first. How do we make those determinations on our capital project?
No, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So you'll see us as we progress through this, like with roofs is going to be a big one where we may not be starting with the worst roof, but we're going to have to start working our way through them, even though they may not be due. So we're not feeling that down for the long term, like large sums of money or having to do multiple in a year. You'll see us start to pick off some of that type of work as well before it might, like a year or two before it might be due. Now, a lot of what we do a big aspect is obviously student safety, right? So that's arguably one of the biggest deciding factors for me, as well as student comfort. So kind of those two big things, you know, staff comfort obviously in mind as well, but for the O&M department, we tend to gear our project towards, you know, what is the most beneficial but also feasible for us to do this year that'll help benefit some of the staff and students working in the schools.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. All right,
Yeah.
thank you. I was just curious.
problem.
I was going through this thinking, how do we pick those?
Yeah, and
is it different than?
You know, it's tough. Obviously, we would love to, you know, do something great. Like, you know, I would love to do these major additions, but like some of the work, obviously, the building envelope, for instance, at Mill Creek, right? That's just stuff we know we have to do, so we stop the water intrusion, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you got those two things in mind, and we kind of start checking things off the list.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Brian, just real quick.
Yeah.
I know on maybe not on all these capital projects coming up, but I know on some of them that we use some of our own staff in terms of trying to do some of the
Yep.
labor. So are we still continuing to that practice?
Absolutely. So the LED project's the biggest one. As you can imagine, when we're converting over, you know, like Fabian, for instance, right? That does take a significant portion of our manpower. So as much as we would love to take on some, you know, other projects, I think we're seeing a substantial cost savings there from doing it in-house versus contracted. But yeah, it's a major projects like that, we're definitely still going to be doing in-house. It's worked out very well.
Good. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have one
Yeah,
more.
the one. Go ahead.
Were there any projects, kind of like the VAV project? Are there any that you had wanted to put into this year's that you had to push off?
Yeah, I think each year I could probably, you know, name off quite a few things, right? But obviously with the budget in mind, that kind of stipulates quite a bit for us. So yeah, there's always going to be those one or two projects, you know. I know there's every teacher would and student would probably love a new playground, right? But yeah, there's always more we would love to get done. That's why, you know, hopefully once we start to progress through the LED project, we can start to free up a little bit more manpower to possibly take on some of those other things.
Great. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
I would add, I do think it's important to note, you know, as we're having a lot of conversations about this, you know, as we look at all these projects, you know, a lot of this isn't kind of like to Brian's point about the playground or whatever. Not a lot of like exciting stuff necessarily, right? It's like when you got to get your roof or your windows done at your house. It's not like, that's not the same fun as getting a new kitchen or a new master bathroom or something, but you got to make sure you take care of those basics. And when you look at these mechanicals, these fire systems, you know, just fixing the building envelope, we've just got to be on top of that basic maintenance of our buildings to make sure they're up to date. So thanks, Brian.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Okay, moving on. Item number 5, future agenda items. We don't have anything there. So item number 6 is items for recommendation to the full board. We have the 2026-2027 O&M Capital Improvement Plan. Do I have a motion to move that onto the full board?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, we'll move that onto the full board. Item number 7 is information legislative update. I think the only thing I'd wanted to mention here that I'll mention in our full board meeting was if you've been following around in some of the bills, there's something called a millionaire's tax that has been proposed. Let me get the details here. It was a 3% surcharge on a portion of a taxpayer's net income that is greater than $1 million. The reason I wanted to mention it is what they were thinking about is that half of that money would be a property tax relief and the other half of that money collected would be distributed to school districts on a per pupil basis. So no details. Really this is dead. It's not going to move forward because it does take a constitutional amendment to put this through and there probably won't be enough time for it, but I wanted to mention it here as something that may come back with a future General Assembly when they meet again next year. And that's all I had. Anything, Dr. Barrett?
I think the only thing I might add is the, this, the mega projects bill that they're talking about. I think everybody, the Bears project bill, and that could have implications for schools, because if it passed, it would, and there were some big projects, and there's still some talk about would like data centers be included in this or not, which we know has been a big thing around us recently. Actually, a big thing everywhere recently. So, if some, if some of these, this mega projects bill passes, there's some implications for school districts, and some of the implications are similar to like what a TIF structure a little bit. So we want to be mindful and keeping a close eye on that. I know the Bears aren't looking to build in Geneva, I know, but there could be other mega projects out there, and if some law changes, it's then the law for anything that could happen. So I think keeping an eye on that one will be important too.
Yeah, that's a good point. We can talk about that in the full board too. I'll tee you up for that one. All right, so that's everything on our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.